and BIM is actually the technology solution for developing models and building models that actually will be helpful in the construction phase, in the maintenance phase, the digital twin solution. So of course, this is the AC solution for technology is BIM, and that's where you have to invest now, of course.
That was a small snippet from our guests for today, Mikael Santrolli and Mauro Sabiu, all the way from UK, and they work for some of the biggest firms in the world, which is Foster's and Zaha Hadid Architects, respectively. So that's Mikael for Foster's and Mauro for Zaha Hadid. That's right. Let's jump straight to the episode.
You're about to enter the Arch Podcast, India's first and very own architecture podcast, where you'll hear the insights, experiences, and journeys from India's leading architects. No matter what your skill level is, together we'll build on our knowledge and share architecture's greatest stories ever told. Now, here's your host, Manish Paul Simon.
Hey guys, this is Manish here and welcome to episode number 49 of the archiTECHts podcast, an Indian architecture podcast all about architecture, BIM, tech, design and a whole lot more. So in this episode, we have with us Mikael Santrolli and Mauro Sabiu, two architects who work for Foster's and Zaha Hadid Architects respectively. So Mikael works for Foster's and Mauro works for Zaha Hadid. They did used to work together once upon a time in Zaha Hadid, and Mikael parted ways and now works at Foster's, and these guys are the best at what they do. So Mikael is a computational designer at Foster's and he heads the team there, and Mauro is a BIM specialist and is a specialist at everything related to BIM. So this episode again is a BIM slash computational design slash tech episode, so it's going to be a treat for all you guys who are into tech. I'm sure a lot of architects right now are into tech, and this is going to definitely be a treat for you guys. So what are you going to learn in this episode? You'll get to hear Mauro's and Mikael's journey, how they got started and how they got into architecture in the first place. Then we jump into a lot more tech. We talk about generative design, we talk about computational design, the whole process at these big firms like Zaha Hadid and Foster's. And then we jump into what the future holds, how architecture is going to be practiced post-pandemic. In fact, these guys have transitioned rather smoothly during the lockdown and during the pandemic period because they already had the technology in place. So there's a lot to learn from this episode, guys. Head to our show notes, which is archian.com/49 for this episode. We'll put up all the links in case you want to explore more about tech and design. So let's tune into this episode and hear Mikael's and Mauro's journey and learn about how they got to where they are and how they are the best at what they do. Let's go.
All right, go ahead, Mikael. Tell us about how you got into architecture, your initial days, and how you've ended up in Foster's plus Partners.
Yes. So it all started when I was very young, and I was always passionate about designing and drawing. And at the same time, I discovered the computer. So I produce a lot of content by drawing it on the computer, buildings or landscapes, and this eventually led me to choose architecture, which is a very good combination about using computers and designing and being creative. So I started my career at Politecnico di Milano, and it was very good. Like it was like a standard experience, but in the latest year, I started discovering a little bit more of computational design. So I started to use tools and scripts to design, and this led me to, after an initial period of training in small practices, to join bigger practices as a specialist in parametric design and computational design. And eventually this led me to move to London, to Zaha Hadid, where I was hired especially to be a computational designer in BIM especially, and then in Foster now as a design system coordinator. I coordinate BIM projects, but I'm also leveraging a programmatic and computational approach to design in the team, and soon I will start leading the computational BIM side in the projects. So
Nice.
this is, and then at the same time with Mauro, we started to develop tools and new workflows that actually envision our passion for computational architecture.
Awesome. All right, that's great. And when did you guys meet in between? Like it was in Zaha, right?
So we met in Zaha Hadid. It was
2018.
It was 2017, Mauro.
Yeah.
So even earlier. But the thing is, we joined the company roughly at the same time, a few months apart, and immediately, just randomly at a BIM meeting, we started talking about scripts and dynamo and advanced modeling, and we immediately realized that we had the same mind. And for all the years we worked together in Zaha, and actually once we even worked on the same project, we always we kept Skyping each other, like, hey man, look at this, it's amazing, look what I did. And it was super exciting to show the things we were discovering and doing. And the best part was when we joined the same project, a huge airport in India, actually Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, the second airport. So we were the BIM leaders in the project, and it was like a blast. We did so much advanced stuff that is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a very complex project, so we had to automate everything. The geometry was pretty crazy, so we had to do a lot of scripts, a lot of interesting stuff.
Awesome. I want to talk more about it, but before we do, give us a brief about yourself, Mauro. How you got into architecture and your career so far.
It was I joined the architecture career pretty. It was pretty casual. I was studying on my college years, completely something that was completely different, and then I eventually joined architecture. And but then gradually I started to be interested more and more, and I have actually a very similar path to Mikael. I was really interested in design. I was really interested in the drawings, the quality of the drawings, and I was really passionate about that. Also the story architecture, and it was something that was really, really interesting to me. And then I moved after the university. I moved briefly in the Middle East for a few months, working in a practice in Bahrain, and then I moved back for a little in Italy, and then in London. In London, I joined the Perkins Wheel. I don't know if is a US practice. It's a huge US practice, and in the London office, and in there I started really to work in BIM. And I think that's the first office where I really I realized my interest in BIM and technology. And from that point on, then I joined Zadin in 2017. Well, I met Mikael, and that's the beginning.
The rest is history, right?
Yeah.
All right. And do you guys feel that now you guys are more of architects, with technology in there, more than just regular architects?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially Mauro and I, we've always fell into these situations where we were pushing the boundaries of technology applied to architecture, and we are big advocates for this because we feel that the AC industry is always very slow to adapt.
Yeah.
So we take the chance, since we have a passion for it, to try to always drive and introduce new things and go forward. So to do that, you have to be super confident, you have to be super advanced, so people can actually trust you, and you have to drive the thing because no one else is going to pull you, right? So we have to be the ones on the front line. And technology is getting much more important in architecture. Actually, in Foster & Partners, we have a roadmap, and for 2020, we published the roadmap for the next 3 years, and there are new paragraphs talking specifically about automation and programmatic solutions and computational design. They want really to focus on that because that's the thing that drives a lot of attention from the clients, because you can build more amazing stuff, and also cuts in times, and production gets much more efficient, the performance is higher, and in the end, you gain a lot by implementing advanced technology in architecture. So this is the time of actually things are moving quite fast. In the past couple of years, we've seen, and Mauro maybe can say the same, like it's a boom, it's an explosion on how democratic is now the availability of the tools with visual scripting, especially. Like more and more people get involved in it, and then they like it. So it's growing a lot, the community.
And it's going to propel even faster now because of the pandemic, right? In a way that we're going to work more of, virtually. And I think you guys already have systems in place, but a lot of us are catching up, and I'm sure it's we have a long way.
So
I guess people No, I guess people have a lot of time now in quarantine to do a lot of experiment and especially in computational, and try to look at a lot of videos and tutorial, and they they are getting more and more passionate about this. I think people have much more time now, probably.
Yeah, and you always start with the basics, which is Grasshopper or even Dynamo, and then you jump into that deep ocean. Like you go into it, you go learn C#, you learn Python, you create scripts, you create plugins. So is it if in your work when you're working for Zahadid or Foster, is it more of making automated systems, making plugins, making scripts, or is it different for every project?
Yeah, I think it's every project has its own history, and so you might have bespoke solution for every project. But in general, we are trying, personally, and also I think Mikael is the same, is we try to develop solutions that are standard in general for the projects that can be applied and scalable in different situations. But of course, every project has its own issues, and you need to create scripts. You might need to create automation for that project. For example, the project we mentioned before, the Mumbai airport, we had to do a lot of new scripts for that, for automation. And in general, we face the problem, and then we try to find a solution with the automation and the scripting. So it's not, the scripting is just the mean to reach more efficiency.
What happens sometimes is that maybe you develop a bespoke solution for a project, and then after everything comes down, you pick it up again and you try to make it holistic so it can adapt to other projects. Because the problem you face is an inspiration to then develop something, so the next time you have something already adaptable to the new project.
Right. And the type of projects you work on is summed up in 2 words, which is mind-blowing. But sometimes when you create all these shapes, or as per the context of the site, when it comes to actual on-site execution, right, then things take a turn for the worse. But you guys are leveraging technology in a way that you can actually make it on-site. So could you give us examples of how you worked on a certain project, you leveraged a certain tool or a plugin, and then that's seamlessly, or rather easily, translated onto site?
So the thing is, of course, we are both of us involved in the design stages. So most of the times our projects reach the schematic design or developed design stage, and then they are handed over to contractors or local architects. And of course, thanks to BIM and automation, it's clear that we are able to embed in the objects much more precision, detail, and also metadata, which will actually make much easier the transition to the site and construction phase. Because at that point there is no ambiguity on the elements that you build in your model. So the contractors and the local architects, they have the model, and they can easily find out all the information, the requirements, which will cut a lot of time into the construction phase.
I completely agree. And also I think what I'm seeing from the beginning of the project, also from concept stage, that more and more the contractors are aware of what they want and what they're asking. So you have the request at the beginning. So at the end of the stage, we must have this detail in the geometry. We must have this information in the geometry. So I think it's slowly getting clearer and clearer what we need to produce. So yeah, there is no ambiguity when it comes to the handover to the contractor.
Yeah, the FC is a good standard for that. I think Mauro has a lot of experience with FC customization because it's the main tool that actually lives along the project.
Yeah. You have obviously when you work in complex project, and especially complex project like as I mentioned, I'm working at the moment in two metro stations, in two stations, one in Oslo and one in Estonia. And you can, so as you can imagine, you have a different you have a different architects, you have a lot of stakeholders, and they not all working in the same kind of platform. So that's why we use the IFC for sharing the geometry information. But then you need to be really precise with what you're doing and attach the right information so it can be read by by different software and etc.
So it's a coordinated model, and it's precise up to the smallest of smallest units, right? Like
it could be. So in that case, technology is helping us, and BIM is actually the technology solution for developing models and building models that actually will be helpful in the construction phase, in the maintenance phase, the digital twin solution. So of course, this is the AC solution for technology is BIM, and that's where you have to invest now, of course.
And have you guys done away with drawings and printing of drawings since we have systems like Plan Grid where you send the model, they can check it out on the tablet, they have laser scans. So is it something along those lines now?
Yeah, unfortunately, still a lot of clients and protocols require drawing production, which is a massive waste of time, in my opinion. But slowly we are transitioning, and hopefully soon we will have model-only submissions. But as of now, we still have to go into the process of printing PDFs and DWGs, which is a pain, but we have to do it until we are confident to just have models.
Yeah. But at least what I'm seeing from my side is, and it's a positive thing, even if they want drawings and PDF, they are looking at the drawings at the computer on special screens. So they don't print paper. And that's really good, for the environment. So this is something that I noticed in the project I'm working at the moment. And it's almost paper-free for what regards the drawings. So it's really good.
And also depends on the country and which country you guys have the projects in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you're working as a design systems coordinator at Foster's. So what are I think like there are newer roles coming in architecture because of the progress in technology, right? We never had a BIM manager a few years back, and now we have a BIM manager, and now we have, I've never heard of design systems coordinator. So could you briefly tell us about, what what role it is and what you play in Norman Foster's?
Yeah, so thing is, Foster and Partners, they had, before having the BIM department, they have a design systems department, which were combined of highly specialized people that were actually building kind of technology solutions and trying to use technology to help the projects achieve new things or to help performance. So slowly, with the introduction of BIM, there was a merge between the BIM department and the design systems department. So now it's BIM and design systems, a whole department. And I actually find it nice because tagging BIM everything is not the best practice, I think. So because the design system parts comes from someone that has control on all the systems that are involved in the design process. So they can be BIM, they can be technology, they can be anything that is related to actually technology and architecture. So as you say, is right, because we always had these kind of BIM managers, BIM coordinators, which is actually BIM and design system coordinators will be a BIM coordinator in other companies. But we are slowly transitioning to have like design technology teams, design system teams. So it's kind of BIM is becoming already an old word, and the new one is digital models, digital production, digital technology. So slowly transitioning to kind of a role that has BIM, has technology, has a lot of things embedded. So it's actually great that this is happening in the industry.
And Mauro, you had architect pretty much in all your firms, right? In LinkedIn, it says architect at Zahadi, the architect at Perkins and Will. But under architect, there is a lot of roles.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, in general, I'm a trained architect. So I'm an architect with a passion for technology. So in general, I'm an architect, but I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional programmer, I would say. So so my first role in the company is to drive the project in the architecture. But to get the architecture, to get the project done, we know that we need technology. We know that we need solution and efficiency. That can be, and that can be only achieved with the adoption of technology and more efficient systems.
And
So,
do you feel that now, because of data, you guys are more data science experts than architects, right?
Yeah, probably. That is part of the how the world goes. Actually, the bigger the practice, the bigger the systems, the more specialized roles you will have. So nowadays, I would see like this: that either you are focusing on design or you are focusing on processes. Okay, so if you're focusing on processes, you have to work with technology to get the design moving in all the stages and going forward to construction. So in my situation, I'm more focused on the processes behind the design. So not more into the design development of the things. So this is kind of the dual role that we have now. We are all architects, but we are focusing on the delivery, on the production, on the technology adoption for the projects.
Correct.
We once in a while do also computational design, so we do a little bit of design using computers, but that's part of a broader role that is more about the technology process behind architecture.
But who comes up with the design, like the shapes, the form, and is it like a hierarchy, or is it more of a team kind of approach to all the design projects?
Well, I think in Zaha, for example, we have dedicated people just working on the design, and then there are people like me that work more on the processes. And so there is a straight line in there. It's not really blurry, the line. I'm working more on the production and make the things happening at the end, trying to deliver what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's more like we receive the design in BIM team, and then we look together at the design. We see how can be best delivered. That's our role.
Yeah. But just to point out something, that we are focusing to the process and technology, but to fully deliver this role and be efficient, you need to know very much about design, because you need to be able to understand what you're working with and understand how it can be fixed if you need fixed, because maybe down the line there is a problem that the designers are not aware about. So if you know about design and you know about the requirements, you can actually deliver properly a model. So if anyone wants to go into the process side of things and technology, they should anyways be very confident in managing design and understanding geometry and understanding all the design features. Even if you don't produce design, you need to understand design to properly do your job. And this happens sometimes, that some people say, I'm a BIM person, but they have to understand the design. They have to be able to produce that design if they are required to, but they're just not doing that in that time.
Yeah, you can always receive design if the design is wrong or not, right? Like,
yeah, you cannot take it as a closed box. You have to review it, you have to analyze it, and you have to work with the designers to come up with solutions to solve the problems. Otherwise, you are just taking things and then pushing back messages. This is not working, but you have to actually be able to understand what is the problem and how to proceed further better.
And in terms of adoption, right? A few years back, a lot of us thought that Dynamo is very difficult and, visual scripting. But nowadays, I think most of us are getting into Dynamo and visual scripting. But I'm sure like you guys, I've gone way past that, and now you're into generative design, right? So how you guys leverage generative design?
So just a small note about visual scripting is amazing, because it actually allows more people to get into this world. Yeah. Like I said before, it's a democratization of scripting, because it's much easier to use. Thing is, and I think is a natural process, that people start with the visual scripting and slowly move to higher levels, and that's what happened to Mauro and I. And generative design also nowadays used to be something very complex to do, and now have ready-to-use tools that allows you to skip some very hardcore parts and just focus on the easy ones. But then I'm sure that slowly, once you understand the easy parts better, you will start moving to the difficult parts. That's how it works. That's how we see also with our plugin, that we like to give ready-to-use solutions so people get actually understand the problem, and then they will naturally go to the most difficult part of the workflow. But the introduction of Revit 2021, for example, generative design, will unlock a lot of people getting interested in it because it's easy, and then soon enough they will be going to the more difficult parts of it.
Yeah, but also in a way, I feel that it makes because you guys have transitioned, from CAD to maybe Rhino, Grasshopper, Revit, Dynamo, BIM. But nowadays, because of the way technology advancing, that in the future maybe architects would have just a one-stop single button, push that button, and the solution is there. Do you think that that would make us architects sort of that learning curve goes down, right?
I don't know, Mauro, if you have any comments on this.
No, I don't think so. I think the creativity it's really important, and it will stay really important on the production of the architecture and the design. So I think that I don't think there will be just a button to create products and design architecture, but I think there will be always the need for the architecture to for his imprinting. But the thing is, what technology can do is avoid all that part of
monotonous.
I mean, we can skip all that part. There is more about trying to find solutions and trying to find solutions, but in a less efficient way. So I think generative design can help the architecture to take better decisions. Maybe that is one thing that it can do, and but I don't think it will be redundant.
Yeah, not replace the architects, but help them to move faster into the analysis and generation of ideas. Because in the end, one thing that is not said about generative design is that in the end, someone has to code the script that actually build things. So maybe the architects in the future, some of them will be more focused on building platforms and frameworks to generate solutions. So they will be designing, but in this kind of box that then can spit out a lot of programs, a lot of design solutions. So I think it will just transition into something different, not replace the work, because someone has to actually create the algorithms that the generative design component will have, unless we have an AI that designed by themselves. But I think this is a bit too dangerous. Like it will decide to destroy the world first. So someone will have to build these solutions. So maybe our industry will transition into some companies will just build design solutions for a platform that you can just generate options. But the designers will have to come up with ideas to feed into this.
I think we already have few companies like that, right? Like TestFit and I think Parametric Monkey as well, where they create scripts for AC companies, and it makes life easier for a lot of the companies.
Yeah.
Right?
So maybe even I don't know, Zaha Hadid will have a department that builds this kind of ready-to-use solutions for generating parts of their design, and it will be a secret for them. Maybe it will be the secret will be the code inside this, and the clients can actually buy packages and generate parts of the buildings based on the design rules that the designers decide. So it will be more of instead of showing plans, you show patterns to the clients that they can tweak the design and generate options based on your design principles. So the designer will just create the design principles, but in a way, it can generate thousands of variations of that principle. But someone has to control the design principle, otherwise the market will just collapse, I think.
And Zaha Hadid, Foster's, even the biggest firms like NBBJ, all of you guys create a lot of scripts, plugins, but it's all within the firm boundaries. It doesn't go out, right? So do you feel that you guys have a monopoly compared to, a lot of firms who are trying to get into the space, but they find it too overwhelming to get into, technology and how technology is influencing architecture?
No, I didn't quite get the.
Basically being siloed
yeah.
away, right? So siloed away, the technology being siloed away in the firms you guys work for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think let's say the resources to get out and the resources to learn the technology and the computational and everything is out there. I think the good period that we're living, there is a lot of resources for learning. So I think even the small firm can access to these to these resources. So it's not. I don't see this to be a problem. Maybe it was like 30, 20 years ago. I'm not sure. But now I don't think it's a problem for anybody to learn new things.
Okay.
Maybe the only thing is that big companies attract people that are more interested in developing those solutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the thing that small companies don't have is people that have the drive to do that, while big companies do. So I think it's more of an attraction situation now, because
Right.
I want to go to work maybe for a bigger firm that actually has the capacities to let me do that, rather than a small company. So if small companies start to hire this kind of big people, they will have the capabilities.
And the other industries like the automobile industry, the airlines industry, they hire machine learning experts and data scientists, right? So have you guys also got into that space?
I think it's slowly moving on that direction too. But personally, we're not hiring. I mean, I think we have some specialists in the company that are working especially on AI and especially for like for workplace scenarios where you have to place many furniture at the same time and many furniture in a floor plate, or you have to find the path for the shortest path. All these algorithms. So we have some specialists that are working just on that, and that's amazing. And and also I think slowly we will be hiring more, probably a data scientist. But that's what I'm seeing in my company at the moment.
Yeah, in Foster as well, we have some advanced research and development teams working on AI. And as Mauro said, also we have a workspace department, which is super interested in generative design for layout of plans based on inputs from sun exposure or flows of movement of people. So they are super excited about the 2021 generative design tools, because it's a few months now that they are investing a lot of time in trying to develop like this kind of generation of content that they can control and cut on the times of production.
And do you feel that now, because of the pandemic, right, there would be less emphasis on building commercial spaces because you can do pretty much everything at home, right?
Maybe the office space requirements will change a little bit. The layout for sure, because maybe spacing between people will be different, but also how many seats you will need will actually have a different setup.
How many days a week you go in the office? How many days a week you stay
so
home?
the occupancy data will be different, definitely different for the coming years.
And since you guys have already adopted technology, I think the transition to your working from home has been easy, right?
Yeah, it was quite okay. I mean, IT was not expecting all at once, but we had already all the systems in place to work remotely. So we use LogMe in instance, and it's working fine. You can turn off and on your computer from home, so it's quite good. Also, Microsoft Teams is growing a lot, and people are liking it as a collaboration and communication platform. That's what we are using.
Yeah, they didn't expect this at all. I think it's same happened in ZA, but the IT response, I think was pretty good. And in like few days from we had 350 people working from home in a week. So it was the response was great.
So what are the tools that you guys use, for the benefit of us listeners that's helped? Was it like BIM 360 or, all those collaborative models that you guys work on?
Well, in general, we have used the BIM 360, and in some of the projects I'm working, we are using BIM 360 design too. And so you can work with you can work in Revit and synchronize with the cloud model. And it was already like this even before the pandemic. And but now it's even more important working in this collaborative way, because everybody's working on his own machine, and the file loads save. Usually they're not just saving the server, but we have a cloud system to connect different models between not just in London, but a different part of Europe and also the world. So working in the same central model, for example, in Revit, without going to technically, but we are working on the same, let's say, central model and synchronizing there with the help of BIM 360 design, for example.
But synchronization must be taking longer, right, compared to the office?
Well, it depends. It depends where the servers are. That's what they say. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad so far. So fingers crossed. Maybe it might change. Let's see. I hope not.
All right. All right. So let's talk about how you guys started MKS Tech, which is a venture you guys started at Zaha. Give us a background about what MKS Tech is all about. And
so it all started actually when we met each other in Zaha. After a while, we decided to create this kind of group where we could develop our ideas and solutions and workflows, and have a kind of a platform for research and development, especially in computational approach to architecture. So the name comes from our initials. So MK will be me and MS will be Mauro.
Right.
And we started building like some workflows, some tools, and eventually this led us to develop our main add-in, which will be BIM, to help the transition between Rhino and Revit, which was a big topic for us in the design process, like a big limitation because it was very fragmented. So we decided to create our own vision for this workflow.
And what are the different solutions that you guys provide through MKS Tech? I think it's the transition from Rhino to Revit, right? Where you can
that's the main one. We build other things which we just for the moment keep for us, and we have other projects in the pipeline that we will announce in the future. But that's the main one out there now. Of course, we give support to many other companies to help them on some workflows specific to some projects. But the plan is to develop kind of this platform where we have different tools and different solutions for different problems in the AC.
All right.
Not if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think it's what we're trying to do. So I missed the first part because I had another problem. But yeah, the main product is BIM, which would try to help the transition between trying to help the connection between Rhino and Revit. Which we see there's a lot of people still struggling with this, and so it helps people, even though people not expert in computational design, for example, and know visual scripting, just to get the job done, and move the information between the platform.
As we were talking before, we started from the end user, like as we were talking about visual scripting or the generative design tools we have now. We wanted something that could solve the problem and help people that it was too big of a challenge before, so they can approach the problem, they can solve it, and then slowly be more confident into this workflow, and maybe eventually they can have their own solutions. But for the moment, we wanted something that is easy for the user, just to solve a problem and start to understand it.
And how are you guys creating these tools? Do you use certain languages or certain plugins?
Yeah, so it's mainly done in C#. That's the main language. It's a very good language because it's very well supported. It's cross-platform. It's easy to type. it's not that complicated in the end. It's very modular, so you don't have to use all the features of the language. Of course, you can start small and then escalate it big slowly. So add more features to your coding, and it's very versatile. Like you can do a lot. There's a lot of libraries. It's the best platform so far we found in the high level programming, because of course low level programming is like C, C++, all these kind of hardcore coding languages. For architects and for non-programmers, like the best are the high-level languages, so either Python or C#. The only difference is that C# can attach to more programs, so you can create plugins. It's very well supported by the different software. So you have APIs specific for C#, so you can do a lot of operations. You can build interfaces. You can build routines very easily using the published .NET APIs. So that's what we use to connect to the software. The only difficult part is that mainly what you're using the commands in a platform that you don't own, so you have to rely on what they offer you in terms of commands. And sometimes this is also a problem for us, because we would like to do something, but it's not possible because it's not allowed for you to do this kind of operations in the program. So you have to find a kind of a balance of functions and what you want to achieve.
Right. Nice. So you guys are software engineers in a way, right?
Yeah, slowly we are transitioning to quite, I would say, decently advanced users. We have a lot to learn still, but we have a good base to work with. So we can do a lot already, and it was quite fast to develop this kind of skill. So I would say that anyone just have a little bit of push to do it quite decently quick, with a lot of examples online. As Mauro said, there's a lot of learning material. You can easily get to a good point and start doing something. So
yeah, the learning curve, it's always the same. It's the first step that is the toughest part, and then after you get a roughly overall idea, then it gets easier. It's at the beginning that it's scary. It's very scary at the beginning, but then after the first step, I think it gets better.
Yeah, and I think even visual scripting helps. Like it helps us easily pick
exactly
up.
the same.
Yeah.
I remember when the logics. It has to get the logics
exactly.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, for me, my first visual scripting, my first approach to programming was Dynamo. Yeah. And so at the beginning, Dynamo wasn't really easy for me. So it took just to understand the logic. It took a bit to understand the logic, but from that point on, it was incredible. It was really nice to go deeper and deeper, and eventually go into scripting. But at the beginning, understanding the logic and everything is that's the first step. That's the toughest step.
Yeah, and
from my point of view, I still like Dynamo, but once you go to all the control and power you have into the proper coding, it's hard to go back.
Exactly.
Right?
I was going to
it's
say
hard to go back.
I still like Dynamo.
Yeah, I like it. It's funny to use, but then I start and I want to do something more complex, and I'm blocked.
Yeah, you're more free when you get into the coding. You can do your own scripts. You are more free. You always, like as you said before, you don't have to rely on what the other people are doing, and you can create your own workflow.
Yeah, the creativity is much bigger, of course. There's a paying price of knowing how to do the coding, but it's the same. It's the same when you don't have visual scripting and you go to visual scripting. It's the same jump, in my point of view.
Yeah, and also time is important, right? You need to make the scripts within a certain amount of time. So I think in that way.
Yeah, otherwise it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Dynamo is definitely faster for certain things because it's ready to use.
Also, the community, it has a huge community, and so there are so many solutions. I think Dynamo is 50% of Dynamo is by the community. It's done by the community.
Yeah, I've learned packages, quite a lot in forums, Dynamo forums.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And also all the packages that allow you to do, stuff that out of the box is not possible, and that's why Dynamo. It's nice for that reason. There's a nice community behind.
Yeah, but I think you guys picked it up much easily because of the employees and the people around you. I mean, you got to work in Sahadi, where I think most of them are at the same level. So even if you get stuck, you pretty much just ask the person
higher.
next to you and higher, exactly.
The environment also helps a lot, and especially Mauro and I, we've been to many Dynamo user groups in the UK, in London, and you just meet mostly the best people.
Nice.
In the city.
Awesome.
So, and London is a super advanced platform. So actually you get a bit spoiled because you think everybody's good, but actually it's just because you are in the place where all the good people go to work. But actually the Dynamo group is great. So you meet all these people that actually inspire you to go further. And we've also been to a Dynamo hackathon,
Nice.
Which was this event where you can teams had to produce some crazy content using Dynamo, and that was super amazing because you met even more the best people, and for 2 days trying to do things, and you get super inspired, and that actually pushed up quite like we were super excited to do even better.
What is like the most craziest script that you created on Dynamo?
Maybe it's the one we did for the hackathon. You can find it in the Dynamo website. There is a blog
I'll put it up
post
on the episode links.
Yeah, so we did this kind of script that connects Dynamo to the webcam, and then nice. You can take pictures of yourself in Dynamo. So you have your picture on Dynamo. It takes your picture and then uses machine learning algorithms we used from people doing PhD at the MIT to actually build a mesh out of your face. Whoa. And then we take this mesh and we take the picture and we color it. So then you have your face in Dynamo.
Oh, you tweeted it. And then you also the tweeted it.
Mauro was the model for all these scripts. Maybe later we can see some pictures of it, because but it was crazy. Like in a couple of days we managed to do it, and it was awesome. Like we were just keep taking pictures of ourselves and get our faces in Dynamo. So it was very funny.
Awesome. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think
the thing is, we proved that you can do even more with the platform. So we managed to connect the webcam. We managed to communicate with the Python machine learning platforms somewhere else. So actually, you can use it for things that are not architecture in the end.
Yeah, and I think like since you guys are already into the space, the learning never stops, right? Every day there's something new to learn, and
absolutely.
So what are What are you guys learning right now, as in any projects or in terms of processes or softwares?
Well, I think for me personally, in the last days, I'm really learning a lot on the project side, on the delivery on complex projects. For example, working on this station, there are different requirements from the contractors, and you need to produce some particular data. And that's really what I'm working on, more on the project side. So working on especially government commissions, and they are quite strict on the requirement and all of this. And also on the other side, which is the even funnier part with Mikael, it's we are learning a lot. I'm learning a lot of scripting and trying to produce a custom solution, and giving the end user interfaces to play with, and ready solution to speed up the workflow. That's what I'm really fascinated at the moment.
So also picking up on user interface solutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's something that I'm really interested. And we both find that is the most important part in the end of a tool. One of the most, at least, is the interface, because people want to be familiar. It has to be clear what you can do and where to go. So sometimes you have an amazing technical solution, but people cannot use it because it's not. They cannot understand it, or it doesn't look right. So the success or failure of something, it's sometimes dominated by the user experience. So you have to think about that, especially probably at the beginning of a project. You have to start from the user experience, because you say, okay, I have this problem, how I want people to solve it, how I want people to do this, and then you solve the technical part. So that's how we approach the projects. So we first find out how we want the user to do it, and then we figure out the technical aspect of the problem.
And user interface is also done through C#, or do you have like different?
Yes. We use Visual Studio, which has very good tools for designing interfaces, both with Windows Forms or WPF. So those are the ones we use, and it's a very stable and reliable platform and library.
All right, so now we'll jump into the dissect the project, where you could possibly talk about a project in particular which you like. So I think Mauro shared that he wanted to talk about the new Oslo line, right?
Oslo subway station in
the new metro
Norway.
line. So I'm just going to share the screen with you guys. So yeah, go ahead, Mauro.
Yeah, this is the Oslo station. The Oslo metro station is an extension of the existing metro line in Oslo, and we are currently working on two main stations: the Fornebu Center and the Fornebu Porten. What are you looking at now at the screen is the Fornebu Center, which is the more fluid shape, and and this station now has changed a little bit the design, but it's mostly it's still sexy like this. Yeah, it's a pretty complex project that involves a lot of stakeholders, a lot of architects and engineers of every discipline. So yeah, it's a beautiful project for me in my career, because I can work on new technologies. And I have to say that in North Europe, they are very, very advanced on what they're doing. And we are using, obviously from our side, all the computational design tools, but also for example, for coordination, we use VR for coordination.
Right.
And we are able to highlight the issues on VR. We are using, it's a project completely in BIM. So all the information is stored in the cloud. And
nice.
There is no really communication by all methods of emails. And I mean, obviously we have the emails, but all the information is shared in the common data environment. So there is a single font of information, and it's really, really nice on the technology side, this project. And also, obviously, on the design side, I think it's an incredible one. If you show more pictures for example, on the tunnel, you see all the cladding. So this is one of the entrances. But if you scroll down the page, you see all the other images and the interiors. I think it's really, really interesting, both on the design side, but also on the process.
When a lot of us, are not up to speed with the materials, when we look at this and we think to ourselves, how did you make this? Where did you guys come up with, what kind of materials are these? Like, how did you make it happen? So how would you answer the, material side of things?
Well, there are different methods. Obviously, there are specialists working just on the material. So it's a very specialized project, and but in general, so there is somebody that is taking care just to understand how the material can what is the kind of, let's say, technique to get this project real on the materials, on the details, and try to make as close as possible to the idea. That's the challenge, and there are one or more people dedicated, one or more person dedicated to just this aspect.
Yeah, from my memory, it was mostly all aluminum and GRC. Not many materials can do more than to bend so much.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes concrete, and to make but I think there are a few options. Yeah.
So the curves in Zahadi project is mostly of aluminum GRC.
There are.
Awesome. And
molded components.
Right. And, a lot of the projects don't get realized as well, right?
Yeah, that's a bit frustrating. Yeah, it is. Working on a project for months, for a year, then and then at the end it doesn't happen. But it might happen in our career, but I think it's still interesting being part of the process. But I mean, if you work in architecture, you should take that for granted. I mean, you should. That's what happens. Sometimes you just working on something that you don't get realized, but that's how it works.
There was one initiative by Zahadi, the architects, on virtual reality and putting all your projects on the internet, right? For people to go and visualize that in 3D. I don't
In
really
VR, yeah.
Yeah, VR, yeah.
I think there's the VR ZH VR group, and they work they specialize on the VR, and they do also actual development or tools, and I think I remember there was this idea to put the models and the project on the internet for the people to visit. Yeah, that's amazing. They are really advanced on that technique.
And how often do you guys visit the site as architects in the office?
Well, personally, I mean, working in Zaha is not extremely easy because our projects are in all part of the world. So sometimes you never see the site, but sometimes if you're lucky, you get to see the site, you get to see the buildings. But what is amazing about about Zaha that for the openings of the project, the office will go to visit the complete building, and that's really
The entire office.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
You guys have a party, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And the best ones I've been so far, I think.
Oh,
really amazing.
So the parties are not as good as Foster's. I mean, in Foster's.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have this kind of setup in Foster that we go to visit completed buildings. We have local parties which are amazing, but the Zaha Broad ones were special for sure.
And is it normal for a lot of you guys to jump between the top firms like Zahadi, Foster's, Perkinsville, like every now and then?
Well, I think once you get into this kind of league, it's a bit easier to
Right.
get your profile moving around. I wouldn't say that's true for Zaha though. Like still is quite demanding as an entry point, especially from the design side. You have to do like if you participate to some schools or some masters, then maybe like you have better chances. From the BIM side as well, like it's a small team, it's highly specialized, so it's very demanding to enter. Moving from Zaha to other places is definitely easier than from other places to Zaha, that's for sure. Still, Foster also is it's a great firm and is getting much better. Since I joined, I saw improvements already, so both are great.
And Zaha Hadid, of course, as the main architect, has had quite an influence in all her designs. And now it's Patrick's turn. And how much of an influence does he have in all the projects, or is it like he just oversees what happens in the firm?
I think it's well. I can't really respond to this question properly because I don't do much design reviews.
Right.
And I work mostly on the process, on the delivery of the project. But I know that he's active and he reviews pretty much all the projects, and that's why I know.
And is it the same at Foster's, where Foster is pretty old now, right? So I don't know how much of an influence he has.
Well, he's not young anymore, but he's definitely active. He comes to the office quite often and participate to design reviews many times. Also, especially for big competitions, he's involved in the process and also in the publicity videos. He's always a part of the team. Of course, he doesn't produce anything, but he's part of the review definitely, and he's still involved quite a lot.
Awesome. All right, so let's come to a close. Where do you guys see yourself 5 to 10 years? Do you feel that you're going to be working with actual robots? I mean, this is a vague question, but I'm just going to put it out there.
But definitely, there's a big interest in having robots part of the construction, and our teams are working on having more and more solutions ready to put this into place in the site. So this project we were doing was to develop a design that then you could. We were collaborating with a company specialized in robotics to then pick this geometry from the model and actually simulate the building site using robots that will help the workers to put the panels in place and to move things around and to fabricate components on site. Nice. So the workshop involved like a VR experience where you were in the site and you could see the robots working.
Wow.
But then the same code that drove the artificial robots in the VR could drive a real robot. So it was actually real stuff. It was just simulated because we cannot have a building site in a workshop situation. But definitely there's a lot of interest in that, and it's growing a lot, especially guys from Zaha that we work with. They come from a background that actually are super interested in robotics and 3D printing of parts. Yes. So it's definitely a trend that is growing. I would say the same is as important as generative design, and I think it's more effective because it's a bit more grounded and it's just a little bit is expensive maybe, but definitely is the future.
All right, awesome. Okay. And how about you, Mauro?
Yeah, no, I think the same. The growing technologies on digital twin and generative design, off-site fabrication. I think these are really the main focus for on the next year. I think is especially on the sustainability and which is on and in collaboration. I think there are many topics then where design technology can influence, and I think this one are just a few.
And Dubai is definitely the playground for you guys, right?
Dubai.
Of course, they have the power to push innovations quickly. I hope they actually build the first high-speed loop, so they could be a hub of innovation, definitely.
Yeah, the Hyperloop is also if it comes quickly, it would change way we think about architecture. It's going to be a different world.
At Foster's, we actually did the design for a proposal for a Hyperloop station in the Middle East. It could be a world-changing situation, and being architects involved in infrastructure, it will definitely impact our industry.
All right. I want to keep you guys on and talk more about technology and architecture, but you guys are busy as well. So we'll quickly jump into the quick fire round. I'll ask you a brief number of questions and then we'll let you go. All right. So what's your favorite Revit or Grasshopper plugin?
For me, I like ID8 Explorer. I find it super convenient.
And how about
Revit
you?
Plugin? Beam.
And, bias it, Mauro.
And no, well, I mean,
Beam is, by the way, is made by MKS, right? So
yes.
And well, Revit plugin. I think Mikael is doing a lot of nice plugin that I like, and but let me think about it. Well, obviously there are some plugins that I really like for the schedule, for exporting schedules from the model, or automate. That's more on the data management. I think there are very interesting plugins. Rooms data management plugins like Trophus is really nice one. Yeah, that's the list. That's what comes to my mind right now.
All right. And which projects would you consider your favorite so far?
Well, it was a tough one, but the Navi Mumbai airport was definitely
challenging,
important because the challenge made me grow a lot.
Yeah, I think I would say the same, but also I'm really, really happy with the with the current project that I'm working on. The Oslo metro station is great project, and also the Tallinn station in Estonia. That's another one that I really, really like, enjoy.
Yeah, Estonia, I think there's going to be a lot of new projects there, right? Because of their entrepreneurial culture.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
What does a daily routine in your life look like? Both before, the pandemic in Zaha and Foster's.
Wake up in the morning, of course, long commute to work, try to drop some cool stuff so people are impressed, and then leave on time without working late. That's my best routine, and the one I try to do the most.
So you do leave on time.
It involves a lot of scripting all day and helping teams to maybe model things, some complex workflows, some complex geometry. So during my day, I keep answering the phone and going to people and helping them solve the problems they have.
Yeah, I have a similar routine. It involves a lot of music and a lot of so always working with the music and always working on and trying to work on interesting stuff and support the team and and trying to be as more efficient as I can on what I'm doing. As a normal routine, it's working or going to the office, try to do the 8 hours, fully 8 hours with as much efficient as I can, and trying to not do too much overtime, because I think that's in the architecture. In the architecture world, it's pretty normal. But I think if you manage to work in an efficient way, I think those hours are more than enough. I think are enough.
And talking about music, Mauro, what's on your playlist?
It's it's very, very. It's a very big mix, and it's hard to describe. It goes from many different genres.
All right.
But there's one thing I would just say is a bit of a spoiler, but both Mauro and I, we love synthwave music, which is this kind of 80s inspired movie soundtrack music.
Yes.
And this also connected us quite a lot. So we listen to this genre often, and we share music between us two.
Yeah, I should check it out. I didn't really get it, but I'll Google it and find out what it is.
Synthwave, Google it.
I'm sure you guys have been mentors to each other. So have you had other mentors in your lives, as architects and doing what you do?
Well, from design perspective, I was always a big fan of Norman Foster, Zaha. Also, I like Rem Koolhaas, for example. Like all these big architects from the past. Mies van der Rohe is a big thing. I find him super amazing. And going even back in the past, Leonardo da Vinci, I like it because he's both technical and creative at the same time. So he's the best of all of us, Ampere. So he's the biggest inspiration, I would say, because he has it all, and he was the best in everything he did. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what Da Vinci would do now, right? Living in the 21st century.
Yeah, I wonder too. I think he will do good.
I think so too.
How about you, Mauro? Have you had any mentors apart from Mikael?
Yeah, apart from Mikael, yeah.
Mauro is my big modern mentor. I always tell him.
Yeah, and vice versa. And I mean, apart from the big architects and some professors at school and some my colleagues from my previous office, I had a very, very good friend, and maybe people that when I joined the architecture in firms in London helped me guide through the path, and very, very important to me to have met some really good people. Even sometimes not very maybe they were not really interested in what I do. Maybe they were more interested in some part of the design that I'm, some process that I'm not really involved. But on the personal side, I met very, very great people to guide me and through the path.
All right. And
I'll just add one thing, Mauro, just for fun.
Yeah.
Mauro, what about Zach?
I can't hear. Sorry, Zach Ron. Zach Ron, it's a hero. It's a hero to us.
Zach Kron, for example.
Yeah, he's a hero, and he's a very, very big inspiration. Like his blog, I think, I don't know, it's on my bookmarks. It's always there.
The Zach Ron, who's is a mutual friend, is it?
Zach Ron, he's an architect, and he works with Autodesk now, and he did this blog where he taught a lot of.
All right. So before, this is the last 2 minutes. So quickly give us, some advice for young architects getting into the field, what they have to look out for, and what advice would you have for them?
It's not an easy question. I think he's trying to. It depends what they want to do. Sometimes people are happy maybe sometimes they're happy in a small practice, and they love doing more not extremely maybe crazy design and stuff. And but it really depends what you want to do and which is your attitude. Of course, if you want to go in a ZA or if you want to work from this kind of practice, you need to be ready really to challenge yourself and to face some tough times, and so that's something that you should know before going down that road. But so it really depends what is your attitude.
Yeah,
I was really interested. I was really interested in crazy stuff, and so that's why it led me to join this kind of practice. It's more like a challenge myself, and that's why.
Awesome. All right. And how about you, Mikael?
So I would say the same, more or less, to like never relax too much. If you want to go forward, like it's always time to learn something new. It's always time to improve something. So if you did something good, try to do it again. When you do it again, try to do it better and explore new things all the time. Otherwise, I think if you're happy, you can be on a point in your life. But if you want to go forward, you have to try new things and risk. Always risk.
Brilliant. So that was like a very informative and fun episode. Thanks a lot for coming on to the Archian podcast. I hope to have you guys in the future as well, talk in depth, and hopefully a lot of us also will be up to speed with the level of knowledge you guys have. So thanks again. Yes. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Ak Young Podcast. We're still building the community. Please share this knowledge with someone you know who could benefit. Just send them to akyoung.com, where you'll find our free newsletter and for more podcast episodes. Search for the show on any major podcasting platform. Don't forget to subscribe where you're listening right now. And if you liked it, leave a rating or review.